Alright, video to Mr. Anderson, who I think needs a little squiggly put in his belly button. Yes, the performer, YouTube performer formerly known as, can't say it, and can't say it, this guy. Well, yeah, I know that's not really a guy thing, but anyway, alright, that guy, that guy. Mr. Anderson. You have to get used to that. Mr. Anderson. Part 6. Sort of. So yeah, it's this communication thing, and he ends the video by sort of making this argument that you can have an argument. Let's say he's not saying exactly what I'm saying. I'm just going to re-say something in a different way that's sort of related to what he's saying. But it does get more complicated. The layers of previous interactions you have with somebody, and the depth of that association. I could say I have that problem with everybody I talk to, in any kind of to any kind of length. I was highly invested in the modern mystic, for example. And then there was Darwin's hamster even, and then there's Pierrot, and then there's Mr. Anderson. More from the past than the present, but yeah, there was the investment was pretty harsh. It was a pretty unpleasant investment in each other's. The interaction wasn't as friendly in an overt way. Sort of. And I could argue that, yes, there's a part of that where it becomes a little bit personal, in the sense that you can have some of this conversation in a personal way and use examples of your personal life as relevant pieces to understanding each other. And some of that's helpful, I suppose, in understanding each other, understanding where the other person's coming from, and the narrative that has created them. And but in a sense, it's also very frustrating because it doesn't help, in the sense that I could argue that all these relationships fail in some catastrophic way, almost on a personal level, and that it becomes impossible to have any kind of conversation, personal or philosophical, just because of the obnoxiousness of some of the disrespect that ends up being inadvertent, or in some respects being asked for by fake Sagan. He almost wants me to degrade the personal to be liberated to have the philosophical argument. So anyway, it does muddy the water in some way when you mix oil and water or something. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't. It's not a good idea, in a sense, to either do one thing or do the other thing. But it's like mixing the two. It's that whole conflict of interest. Whatever you want. It's always difficult. So yeah, I don't know which tact to take in this video. I'll argue in defense of the philosophical part. I'd say, as the title of this video is implying, that I'm not the broken one. And so please, no tears for me, Argentina. And in this argument about he argues that he's seeing the suffering, and I guess what I'm saying is no, you're not. You're neither seeing the imposition of it, the rape nature of it, nor are you seeing the colossal weight of the waste of it. And I used the analogy the other day, but in a sense, in a real sense, every living thing that enjoys moments of the splendor in the grass is made out of 10 children being brutally destroyed. It goes for You could average it out, and that's what the average would come out to, something like that. Maybe it's even a higher number. Certainly not a lower number, especially if you add in the insects and all the other potential neurologically active organisms. It's reality is disgusting, the natural reality. And you can play this game with me and say you have acknowledged that, and you still find this human activity of whatever 1950s domestic fun worth it. But yeah, as I just chuckled, I find that mockable. And I find the animals walking outside of the zoo looking in being more ridiculous than the animals in the cages. A lot more ridiculous. Like many millions of times more ridiculous. And so anyway, so there, I've got the philosophy part done. The word unacceptable for me and you mean completely different things. And recognizing the volume. It's like the people who play a game with like global warming or something. It's only a couple of degrees, you know, that kind of. You know. Yeah, right. It's only a couple of feet of water. yeah, a couple of feet's a lot. But anyway, so this got to some challenge about Ocean of Vani and love, and this is the motivator for him, is that he sees me as some sort of that I'm some sort of taster of the world, and you know, my impression is meaningful, and so he's trying to. He's almost placing a stake on the integrity of that being, you know, like it is an expression of one's soul. And I mean, I could go through my first romantic encounter, no sex, kind of thoughts of it, but you know, anyway, but it sort of just defines the the way it always went, kind of a thing, in a way, is I had when I was five and a half, we had a neighbors, and the neighbor had a little girl. She was called Allison, and she was just so perfectly pretty, and perfectly neat, and perfectly tidy, and just so perfectly perfect. You know, the perfect little girl. And I was in a sense, you could say maybe I was the generic boy. I was dirty and smelly and stinky and played with bugs. And she found me charming in some way or another and desired to play the house. Okay, and she had a whole, you know, they were sort of rich, I guess, and they had a whole back sun porch that was just Barbie land, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it had the Easy Bake oven, and the Easy Bake sink, and the Easy Bake cabinets, and the Easy Bake. And so she would Easy Bake in her little perfect dress, and I would sit at the table with my little plastic, you know, forks and spoons, and you know, all the necessary stuff. And we were to play domestic. And yeah, I was the whole time. It's like I'm in the zoo watching. I mean, I'm just like, what the hell is this shit? Can we take a bath together? I mean, this is what I was doing, right? I'm like, you know, I was a bedwetter, so I had to, you know, wear diapers and stuff. And I was like, man, maybe she could diaper me up. So I did make it a little bit sexual. I have to concede. I didn't really know. You know, I didn't really know that. I didn't know what sex was. You know, the real act. But I did know what sensuality was, and intimacy in the sense of being naked with somebody seemed kind of like fun. So anyway, but I was just totally uninterested in this role playing, and you could see it. I could almost hear the Married with Children music playing. It was just so. Oh man, do I not want this to happen to me. But I knew this was just play. I knew this was harmless. I just didn't want reality to turn out like this. No, 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 no. Didn't want to get anywhere close to this domestic little boxy thingy where I play this role and pretend I'm finding this all very fascinating. So anyway, I mean, the best moment was, one day the light bulb didn't work on the Easy Bake Oven, so I could play mechanic, and that was fun. Yeah. But anyway, so and the rest of my love stories are, I was one of those people that love at first sight. So that was like the first thing happens to you is you're just stunned. The sunlight is shining and the hair is perfect and this, and and you're just, you're struck. And then you see if you can find the flaw if you're given an opportunity. I mean, I still have a vivid memory of a girl I only saw for 45 seconds. 45 seconds. Right? But still in my head. She was made for me. I just know it. We would have been perfect together. But that's sort of, your brain can do those kind of calculations. It kind of can sum up what, and it adds it all up, and it figures out that, well, she has just the right posture, and her mannerisms are just right, and that means she can't be stupid because her mannerisms are too precise. She can't be this, she can't be, your brain can do all those calculations, and so most of the time it's pretty accurate. And then there's also those relationships though that, okay, the person's acceptable, but they just, they have all these perfect little, things. There's these little things they do. They're almost like magic words. They have a container of powder. There's something about them that just says, oh yeah, this could work. And so some of them you make work, and some of them are just, instant. Yeah, generally speaking, that's how it kind of works, and it's a very crude, I would say. The mechanism is crude. As much as I wish to say my judgment was unassailable, I know it wasn't. You'd find out the girl you love sleeps with axe murderers and drug dealers and all kinds of criminals and thugs, and you're just like, ew, that's not too good. But some of that you just, no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. And then, but there's always those little magic moments where you find out, oh, this is what this is really about. I remember one girl, we had started something, and there was something anyway. So and I remember we hadn't talked to each other for a few days because of some bullshit and whatever. And so we were apart for like 3 days, and that's, and it was it was like I said, it was in the beginning of a thing, and it was intense. And I remember calling her and finally, okay, we have to get together. And she was going out with her friends, and it was like, why don't you come along? And it was like the very idea that she could think I have any interest in like going to some diner and hanging out with her friends, and all I want to do is just fuck the shit out of her, and like she couldn't figure that out. I mean, she couldn't figure out that I was totally into her, and I really didn't want to do this let's hang out with the friends thing. No, thank you very much. And so just the very idea that I said, well, she really doesn't get it at all. I mean, she doesn't understand what's at stake here. She doesn't understand how I feel at all. I mean, it's like she doesn't have a clue to say something like that. I mean, no clue at all. And so it's a giveaway. You say, oh, shit. So, whatever, you want me to say something like that about Ocean Avani, I'm not really interested in doing that, but if it'll help you, then if it'll help you let go of this idea that you have to reclamate or save me because, you know, I have been touched. and being touched means that now you're invested. And it's sort of that way, right? You pet the cat, yeah, you own the cat. So I sort of understand what you're saying. But look, you know, I mean, the truth is the truth. I mean, we exchanged like 6 private messages, maybe. And you know, and somewhere right in the middle of that happening, this little bit of interaction we were having, you had out seduced me. Okay, and so even half of her private messages to me were already in the circumstance where she had already become involved with you, and she didn't even, you know, she didn't quite have enough respect for me to just say, I'm already involved. Thank you very much. And, you know, that, ouch. So, you know, and then, you know, I could go through the stuff where, oh, there was just, you know, as much as, you know, I liked her, there were 9 million things wrong in the sense of incompatibilities, that the stuff that just wouldn't make this work. There's no way it could work, kind of a thing. So, I mean, all for the best, in a sense. But yeah, I had nothing but, I mean, she was nothing but almost a sympathetic character. I mean, come on. I mean, the stories were dramatic stories. I mean, dramatic. You know, you couldn't help but feel, I couldn't help but feel sympathetic. Not in a pity way, but I just mean this is an incredibly sympathetic character. So, yeah, there's no ill feelings or blah 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 or any of that kind of stuff. But I haven't sat around lamenting. I mean, there's other, I mean, the first 3 girls I fell in love with, you know, I will spend my entire life running those things through my head over and over and over again, because those were, that's how hard I fell, and so those will always own me, you know, in a dramatic way. And but I'm, you know, certainly every bit of contact you have is memorable. So I mean, I do remember. I have a pretty good memory, you know, of my interactions in the world. I remember the you know, I remember the things that walk by the window at the zoo, and I remember the ones that, you know, I interact with through the glass. Okay, so enough of that. So, you know, but I just don't, you know, I mean, this is, we have 2 different agendas here, apparently. And so if I can get you to let go of this idea of saving me, because frankly, I don't think I'm the one that needs to be saved. I don't think I'm the one swimming in the cesspool. I think I am in the lifeboat, and I'm better off where I am than in the world you'd wish on me. I mean, it's your dream to have a wife and a kid. Never was my dream. Seriously, in the hardest way possible, I can tell you this. It never, ever, 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 ever sounded like a good flavor of ice cream. It sounds like the flavor that's like poo and vomit. I'll never order that. Yeah, not in a zillion years would I order that. No, thank you. No, 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 no. So don't lament. And, you know, he says things like dying alone. Well, you know, I don't know why this is a thing for people. But it's like, to me, that's like saying shitting alone. Yeah, I really, there's absolutely nothing inside of me that says, gee, I'd love to have company when I take a shit. No, no, no. I could see social pissing, but no, I don't want to do that with anybody. And dying is like shitting, in my opinion. I don't want to do that with somebody. I mean, that just doesn't sound like any fun at all. I mean, if they're dying with me, well, that's not good, because I'm going to be worried about their process. And if, which I may be stuck with, you know, who knows. But anyway, but if I'm with somebody who's watching me die, I mean, that's just, like, that's, I don't see how anybody wins in that circumstance. No. I guess this is one of those things where, for most people, misery loves company. For me, no. That's the last thing you can do is show up when I'm miserable and you're miserable. Oh, fuck. You just made my misery worse. You didn't make my misery better. Yeah, that just doesn't work for me. And, you know, human beings can never provide, have never been able to provide. And this might be a problem in relationships I've had with women too, is there's only, you know, there's only so many buttons you can press on me that are any good. You know, the rest of them are just forget about it. You're not going to be able to give me any, you're not going to give me any comfort. You're not going to be able to say something where I'll say, oh, gee, that was great. I get it now. It doesn't matter. It's just never happened in my life. I've never found another person's sympathy or blah 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 to be the least bit comforting. It just can't work. It just can't. I mean, nobody can say something I haven't already tried on myself, so to speak. So that just ain't gonna work. Alright. So I don't know if I have to. I wanted to play the middle of his video because it was so irritating the shit he was saying. You know, but then he ended it with this whole, you know, just he swang so hard into the personal part that it's just hard to go to focus on that obnoxious middle part. You know, well, I could just say the minor in defense of. So yes, he sees no value in this medium. He sees no value in the art of conversational philosophy, if you want to call that's what this is, or something, or the even the strict, however you'd call it, combative philosophical challenge and gladiatoristry, or whatever it is. And I do see great value in it, even if you're just sharpening your swords on each other, you know, on each other's skull bones. There's value in that, in the refinement of this, the isolation even of what exactly is being argued. And so I mean, you've set yourself up for a description of a religion that I'm not going to find any territory to walk. I'm not going to be able to see your mirage as anything worth pursuing at all, because now you've stripped it of all reason. And you know, a God that injects to do the Big Bang and then walks away. You know, I mean, what the hell is that? I'm supposed to make sense out of that? It all has a purpose, but it's all looks like a God fart and nothing more. That's even a more insidiously, non-cognitively reasonable description of reality. I mean, a God that drops dead, you know, after he makes the Frankenstein. Okay, maybe. A God that was drunk, maybe. But yeah, it just doesn't, you know, just doesn't make any sense. It's too, it's too, Zadolf Mungala. You know, it's too. You'd have to be such a monster to create, you know, to do this abiogenesis thing. It's just too. It's almost like the Aliens movie, the last one, whatever it was called, Silly Putty. It was just such a. The whole thing got so silly in the sense of, we're going to make these biological weapons that are just so fucking caustic that there's no way you'd even play with this thing for a second. To do what? You know, it's just for what purpose? You know, because once you make the mess, how do you clean it up? But anyway, that's we'll talk movie plot flaws. That could go on forever and ever and ever, Mr. Anderson. Okay, so, but yes, I'm going to keep saying that. Yeah, so he's pissed off that I won't use this love word, but yeah, I've always never used it as anything else but a four-letter word. I mean, the word love just is such a piece of shit. That's your zoo, okay? That's a zoo word. You know, you people in the, you know, on the outside, it's the hypocrisy in it, the duplicity in it, what does it really mean? You know, it's just so tacky, and you know, I would never describe any feeling I had as love just because it's such a disgusting word by common function in the how humans play with it. The thing they call love is such a piece of shit that why would I call anything I cherish that word? But I will say that this thing that drives one between men and women is, I'm sorry, yeah, I just can't give it. I'd like to be able to say, I do love in some pure, beautiful way, but I don't. I am motivated by the figure, you know, and how the sun bounces off of it, and all of that kind of, the pretty face, the aesthetics are powerful, and that is superficial. I'd like it not to be, but it is, and that's a fact. So it's just true. Yeah. I mean, I think once you're involved with somebody, I think I would be okay if something horrible happened to them and they were deformed or something. I think I would be able to get past it. But that would be a matter of, because of the bond and the sense of responsibility and the sense of what you've invested in the other person as a person. And all of those good things would be valuable, and you could just get over it's a head game. Yeah, that's sort of the alternative title was going to be, you know, Undone Life, not, and just a head game, ... just a head game. So because he does this whole thing that somehow I've missed out, and I really haven't, because I mean, early in my life, I went a lot of places, okay? I've been to the biggest ball of string, the biggest pile of horse shit, the Grand Canyon, I've driven through a redwood tree, been down in the mines, a couple of different ones, stalagmites, stalactites, all that shit. I've seen all kinds of crap, been all kinds of places, seen all kinds of people, been to all the little creepy little towns, been to actual ghost towns. So I've seen, I know, and what you realize after you've been and seen and know is that it's really just about your head. Where's your head? Even when you're doing these things, it's just where your head is that matters, and that you can really manufacture a pretty good facsimile, drawing of reality in your head, and understand that that's all experience is these little pixels of visual stimulation, and you know, the breeze off the ocean, and the mist, and the smell of the brine, and these are all just sense perceptions, and you can understand that your brain is living in that stuff all the time. It's playing with the pieces of those things all the time, and so this game is really just a head game. It's all, you don't really interact with reality. You interact with the composition your brain makes out of these, this Morse code. The beep, 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 beep. You know, Morse code hits you and your brain turns it into a TV show. But it's all the head game. It's all what's in here. And so I don't need to do the domestic life to live a life. And you may think my life is underdone, but I could argue, like the guy in Blade Runner, that I've seen things that you can't even imagine. You know, I've been places that you don't even know exist. You know, so don't cry for me, Argentina, in the sense of worry that my deprivated life is in any real way a deprivation, because no matter how deep in the sand I am, you know, just my little nose is sticking out, I'm still here. So it'll never, it can't ever take that away from me. So I mean, I'm just not trying to, you know, it just turns into this competition of what's the best way to be, or the best life to live. And I'm just saying I think I'm riding a good ride. I mean, I know from just like the average person's perspective, it's not a good ride, okay, because it's not shiny and waxed and sporty, and it doesn't have a great radio and all that kind of shit. But it's a good ride. So yeah, if that'll help you let it go, well, great. And then we can maybe, when you feel so inclined, get to the real subject, which is, again, it always seems to come down to these kind of arguments with people. This, what's more important, your impact on the future, the residue you're going to leave behind in your life, or your life. I mean, what's more important, like that, when you're, you know, I use this example because I think it's applicable enough. I think it's something people can understand in their real world, that it's a timeshare, you know, and you spend a little time being one of these consciousnesses in the timeshare. And there's a truth to the fact that you can live a reckless life that leaves behind a bunch of AIDS and herpes and all kinds of shit. You know, and then you walk out all happy and, hey, I had a great time. But you left shit all over the place. I mean, you shit in the living room, shit on the couch, shit everywhere. And the next guy showing up has got to live in the shit that you created. And it's not going to be too much fun cleaning all that shit up. And that's sort of our real life is the mission statement of first do no harm, or you know, get something done, be all you can be in terms of jump on the grenade if it's there to jump on. You know, I don't know. You know, there's this idea of winning as it being a piece of the bricks that make the future. You want to be a damn good brick. I mean, a fucking solid brick. Or are you going to be a crumbly piece of crap brick in exchange for, I had a good time shitting on everything. And that's the important subject to me. And I think if that subject is analyzed rationally, as the commenter, he, you know, kind of ragged on a commenter a little bit, that that's the game. You know, you can pretend something else is the game, but that's really the game. And I would argue it's just deluded notions in people's heads that this game piece is worth consuming a bunch of other game pieces, and that's what it comes down to. That's what life is. Beating the shit out of them. Tons of harm is what we're rolling on. It's the grease that we're sliding on. So it's like little kids and they got a little slippery slide thing. And they don't know it, but it's not being lubricated by water. It's being lubricated by blood. And so our little slip and slide game is really expensive. And you say you understand its expense, and I'm saying I don't think you've even smelled it, let alone seen it, acknowledged it, grasped it conceptually. I don't think so. And that's the philosophical disagreement. And it makes all the difference, frankly, between me and you, is the argument over what is the weight of all that imposition and torment. Okay, good enough. Well, yeah, it's close enough to good enough. But storytelling is a little bit fun, I have to admit. Just remembering, because you just forget kind of all the little ludicrous bits of your life and the little funny things and the little bits that made who you are. And in hindsight, it is fun to go stroll about in the silly putty now and then. Remember just how, oh boy, that was ludicrous, wasn't it? Yes. Oh, wasn't that another ludicrous moment? No, it's like an old movie you haven't seen for a while. Oh shit, that really was pretty funny. There was a Spaceballs or something. Young Frankenstein morphed into Spaceballs. Yeah. So anyway, till the next time and such, so forth and whatnot.